Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georja Calvin-Smith. And with just one more sleep to go before the official kickoff of the Paris Olympics, South Africa's sports minister shares his excitement for the squad's prospects and the sector's positive economic and social impact. Also, more protests in Kenya as demonstrators take to the streets in memory of the dozens killed in the police's heavy-handed response to earlier rallies against the rise in the cost of living and President William Ruto's administration. And there's little left to protect. South Africa's great white shark populations are no longer so great. The decline in numbers around the Cape Coast has been rapid and perplexing, as many of the fish tracked by researchers haven't just moved on to other spots, they've somehow vanished. But first, African sporting fans are holding their breaths on the eve of the official kickoff of the Paris Olympics. Now, some of the action has already kicked off, with the Rugby Sevens and football having started on Wednesday, two sports that are particularly close to the heart of many South African followers of the Games. Now, earlier I popped down to the country's Olympic Pavilion in Paris, where Sports, Arts and Culture Minister Gayton Mckenzie told me about the squad's excitement about going for gold in the French capital.
We used to see a lot of pictures in France, people burning stuff, people walking, like, are we really going there? And we come here, peace, tranquility, happiness, excitement, everybody's happy, everybody's friendly. And I mean, like, the French has this thing where most people say you are unfriendly. I've not experienced that this time around. It is really, really a good place to be. And congratulations to your government, to your sports bodies, to your journalists, to the police, everybody.
You actually domestically have been really doing what you can to use sport as a vehicle for social cohesion. How is that playing out, and what for you are your goals?
You know what, South Africa has really come a long way when it comes to social cohesion. We're not yet there, but we've come a long way. You know, there was a time in South Africa where when you go to a sporting game, you would find the old apartheid flag being waved there. And now you'll never see something like that again, because we're intentional about dealing with it. When what we've done is we have brought people to the ranks. You'll see our teams are now more inclusive of other races, and it's no means saying that we're there yet, but we are getting there very fast. And that's my role. You know, sport can unite people. You look at our Springbok rugby team. It is united. It brings the country together. It brings people of all races, all creeds, all sexes together. And that's what sport should do. Sport should unite people. And you know, I walk here in the streets of Paris, and I must congratulate the people from France. Because you've put, I mean, even before it starts, it is a spectacular show. That one, you know, mixed with your culture, your art, your buildings. It's just something to behold. I mean, you have outdone yourself, and the most important part, people feel safe. People feel safe, and I think that is what you guys have really outdone yourself.
Beyond the Games, you've also spoken up about your concerns about discrimination in the wider global sporting landscape. What are your concerns there?
Well, there's a lot of worrying trends, you know, and I don't think that we as governments, as leaders, I don't think we're dealing adequately with it. It cannot be that a guy like Lewis Hamilton, Venus and Serena Williams, now Saka, the Arsenal soccer player, all of these people, Rashford, are still complaining about racism in the sport. And I think we mustn't just name and shame the people. We must name, shame, convict, expel. We must expel those teams. There's no space for that in the center of social cohesion, because that's what sport's supposed to do. But I just think that the people that are racist in sport are getting off very lightly. And I think we need to change that. We need to be intentional about dealing, about expelling, about shaming, naming, convicting them. Because you see, if a guy like Lewis Hamilton can complain, Serena Williams can complain, Venus Williams, what about us ordinary people on the street that lives with some of these racist people? So I just think that a stronger stance should be taken. There should be severe penalties, and that's what South Africa has done. South Africa just came out and said any sports body that's showing signs of racism or that's built along racial lines, we take away your license. We, in our constitution, in the Bill of Rights, the racism is detested and it gets acted upon. And that's what I think we should be doing. There's no space for racists in our sport. We need to protect our sports people. We need to do that. And it's not only affecting black players. I mean, you look at Kevin Boateng. He was so racially abused that in monkey sounds whenever he touched the ball. He then kicked the ball in the stand and he left the game, and all the white players followed him because they're equally affected by it. So we need to get rid of the racists in the game.
And how is South Africa, beyond the Olympics, using sport as an economic driver?
You know, I can tell you one thing. Sports, arts and culture, the department that I head, contributes 3 to 4% to our GDP. It is a great job provider. It is a brilliant opportunity giver. And that's what we want to alleviate poverty and joblessness through the arts, through sport, through culture. Because, you know, you've got agriculture, which everybody says is this big, which it is, job provider, but they also contribute 3 to 4% to our GDP. And the same in my department. So I just want to move it from 3 to 4%, we want to take it to 5%. And with that 5% comes a lot of jobs.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Minister.
An enthusiastic and ambitious Gayton Mckenzie there in Paris ahead of the official kickoff of the Paris Olympics. Now, Kenyan President William Ruto's nominated someone to take over as Inspector General of Police. Douglas Kanja has been filling in the role since his predecessor resigned earlier this month over accusations of police's heavy-handed response to youth-led protests. Now, the Gen Z rallies have entered their second month with a raft of political demands still unmet. Many took to the streets once again on Thursday, demanding justice for those who were killed in earlier police crackdowns. Our Olivia Bizo reports.
Since the beginning of the anti-government protests, Bill has been capturing scenes of police brutality and then publishing them on social media.
I record, I give it to people to see what's really going on the ground. The police should be on the streets, if they're lining up, checking if people's properties are okay, not throwing us with tear gas.
More than 50 people have been killed and hundreds arrested.
They shot at a guy for no reason, you see?
Social media is being used to fuel the protest movement and share information on plans and progress. But because of the violence on the streets, many are finding other ways of expressing their anger. Ethan is using music. This is one of the many protest songs that is being used as a unifying cry.
Everyone is tired. The economy is hurting every single person. So whenever you release a song, like the protest songs that have been released that are talking about these challenges, every single person is relating to it, no matter whoever you support.
Siasa Place has been empowering young people to find solutions to these challenges themselves. The protests didn't come as a surprise.
We've been talking for years about how the youth bulb is a ticking time bomb. I think Kenya is an example of when that bomb blows. I believe it's going to continue for a while. I think that the public is more observant in terms of what's being passed in parliament.
Kenya's president has said the protests must end. But young people have promised this is just the beginning. They say they will not stop mobilizing until they finally see systemic change.
Now, the UN has warned that the number of casualties from this week's landslide in southern Ethiopia has risen to 257, but is likely to climb as high as 500. Rescuers have had to keep up their grim search for survivors in Kencho Shacha Gozdi. The first landslide there followed heavy rains on Sunday. More than 15,000 people will need to be evacuated because of the risk of further shifts. And in DR Congo, health NGO Médecins Sans Frontières, or Doctors Without Borders, has launched a measles vaccination campaign in Sankuru province. That's in the center of the country, where many children from remote communities there have never received any routine jabs. Our team sent us this report.
The call to get vaccinated rings out in Lotai a hamlet in the Katoko-Kombe territory in the center of Congo. A measles outbreak has hit the area, and the village church has been transformed into a vaccination center. Children pass through all day long in order to get their jabs.
You're brave.
In these cool boxes are the precious vaccine doses. The nurses' movements are quick and precise.
I arrived at 6 a.m. I'm going to vaccinate 700 children until 6 p.m. That's how important it is to fight measles.
Humanitarians are desperate to avoid a repeat of the 2018 measles epidemic, when more than 8,000 people died nationwide, according to official figures. But in the territory of Katoko-Kombe, disease outbreaks are increasing due to a lack of doctors and medicine, as well as the fiendish difficulty of reaching remote areas. This mother and daughter have arrived at Katoko-Kombe Hospital, exhausted, after a motorbike journey of over 50 kilometers. At the hospital, no fewer than 25 children a day are treated for severe cases of measles, malaria, and malnutrition. Dr. Cyril keeps up a non-stop stream of consultations.
Did he take milk?
All 80 beds in the pediatric ward are occupied, and the children's parents are worried.
Has he had his injection?
One patient, a small girl, is under particularly close observation.
Je suis en train de vérifier le rythme cardiaque. Il est en train de battre correctement.
She's in a coma, suffering from a severe form of malaria and meningitis.
We've put her on the molecules that treat both severe malaria and meningitis. And the outcome will be favourable so long as the treatment is tailored.
For the health authorities, carrying out vaccinations is an essential measure. Humanitarians hope to immunise over 32,000 children in the Katoko-Kombe territory.
Well, in under a decade, great white sharks in South Africa have all but disappeared from certain hotspots that they've frequented for generations. The drop-off in numbers has been huge. Around 90% of sharks tracked in some studies have just disappeared. Our team reports.
In South Africa, the release of the documentary The Last Shark has reopened the debate on a very worrying phenomenon.
Despite all this abundance, everything started changing when the great white sharks began disappearing.
The documentary was filmed in Gansbaai. The coastal town, nicknamed the White Shark Capital, is facing an unprecedented crisis. The film's narrator, who runs a company specializing in shark cage diving, is rightly concerned.
I think the last time we saw a big shark was back in 2021. So it's very concerning. The sharks that we're seeing now are all juvenile sharks. Unfortunately, our vessel hasn't seen a white shark this year, which is the first time since the company started in 1997 that we have not seen a white shark over winter.
Tourists continue to go out to sea. They come across the bronze whaler shark. Young white sharks have only been spotted 4 times since the beginning of the year. 10 years ago, several hundred adults lived off the coast. For this scientist, overfishing is responsible for the great white's disappearance.
We don't know who is catching what. So if overfishing is having such a great impact, removing species that they potentially would hunt for, it could be one of the reasons they no longer are returning to the area.
The founder of the Muizenberg Shark Museum has been documenting the decline of white sharks around the world for 15 years. Overfishing is a problem, but there are more reasons for the disappearance of great whites in South Africa.
South Africa has been very active for a very long time in protecting the beaches with the nets, especially in the province of Natal, the place where most great whites are killed because they get entangled in these anti-shark nets and they don't survive.
Great white sharks have been protected in South Africa since 1991, but this measure is not enough.
Well, that's it for Eye on Africa for now. Thanks for joining us, though. Do so again if you can. Till then, take care.